Live from Atlanta, Georgia. It's the Zach Ballinger Show, where we help you find your direction through passion and purpose. My name is Zach Ballinger. I'm your host. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We are streaming live via YouTube. If you have any questions out there and you're listening, pop those into the comment box. We'll make sure to get to them. You guys can always email me, zach@zachballinger.com. You got those questions, make sure to submit them live via email. We'll make sure to get them to my guests. 2021, we're bringing on business experts, business people that actually own their own businesses to answer your questions about small business. If you think your passion and purpose in life is owning a small business, you have questions out there, please ask them. There's no stupid questions, and most people out there that have those similar questions are probably have the same questions that you have out there. So without further ado, Travis, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Zach, thank you for having me. This is so exciting. This is so cool.
So Travis, can you tell us a little bit about yourself before we get to the questions?
Well, my name is Travis Rosbach, and I kind of say in a nutshell, I'm a serial entrepreneur, even though I don't really know how to spell all of that. But that's kind of what I do. I sort of start businesses, and I really enjoy growing businesses. But I also have a big passion in travel and international exploration. And I was a commercial airline pilot for a while, a boat captain, dive instructor, dive master, and a few other things besides getting to say that I'm a serial entrepreneur.
Awesome. And what kind of businesses do you own? What kind of industries, if we don't mind to ask?
Yeah, right now, predominantly outdoor products related. However, I do have my hands in a few other businesses that direct to consumer products and things like that.
Gotcha. Well, thank you so much. And we're going to jump right into these questions that people have submitted, usually some pretty common ones. But, one of the questions that I got that I really needed help with, and I think my audience member does too, is the question right here. It says, am I better off buying a franchise or starting a new company?
True. Good question. And see, this is, I think, one of the sort of the things I've been thinking about quite a bit with businesses is that there's no real straight standardized answer that will sort of blanket everyone. I think that everyone is unique and individual. Franchises have a lot of benefits. They are for people who maybe have not had a business before and they want to start learning more about business. Maybe they're not an MBA or they don't have a college degree, but they really want to just jump right in and maybe need a little bit of help learning how to grow and start a business and all the ins and outs and intricacies of business. For me personally, I feel that I could probably make the hamburger better and the French fries better, and I would probably get myself into a lot of trouble and lose a lot of money and not be a great franchisee. But that's not to say that not everyone would be like that. I think that there's a lot of benefits, but it also is it's a commitment. It's usually a 4 or 5 year commitment, and it could be, I can imagine it would be kind of frustrating to see some of your profits go out the window towards a question mark. But if you feel like you're getting your value worth out of it, then sure. Yeah.
And keep in mind, guys, I get a lot of the questions out there from the high school students and college students about big time franchises where we're talking about global chains where that allow them. Keep in mind, guys, a lot of times these franchisors require a certain amount of experience. So if you're talking about a restaurant, they want 5 years experience. They want a large capital investment. They want a large net worth. So your barrier to entry is going to be a lot more difficult if you're out there as a student trying to get into these. I think what Travis is meaning is these franchises that are kind of off the beaten path that might be a little bit less expensive to get into, and they kind of give you the structure. But I would encourage you to take it slow and develop your own idea and really think about that, because you're talking about this huge investment, a big SBA loan. Especially if it's a brick and mortar situation, you're talking about, hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially before you've even operated your own business. So just keep that in mind. What would you say to that, Travis?
Absolutely, Zach. And another thing that brings up to me is that I have found, because I've gone through, when I'm bored or I'm kind of in between businesses, and I look for businesses that are for sale and or for franchises that may spark my interest. I found that sometimes there are sort of, you probably know the technical term, but they're not a franchise, but basically you can buy into using their package, and you don't have to necessarily pay the franchising fee, whether it be monthly or quarterly or annually, but you get sort of the benefit of the marketing that comes from those businesses. Those would be the ones I would probably lean a little bit more towards, or the ones that sort of advertise on the platforms of franchises, but aren't actually franchises themselves.
Gotcha.
Because I do know those do exist. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you for that. And the next question that comes in, it says, business student, do I need an MBA degree?
If you're not already in it, I would say no. I would say that if you're in it, finish it, learn the glossary of terms, learn the different abbreviations, learn how to do spreadsheets, learn how to do all of that, because it will become valuable down the line. However, it's absolutely not necessary to get any more letters after your name. I truly believe just going out and starting business is the best way to learn what actually happens in doing a business.
Yeah, that's why a lot of professors and programs, even MBA programs, guys, they say, hey, we want a minimum of 3 years experience before you join the MBA program. That's what Travis is talking about, is that, there are programs out there, don't get me wrong, that where you can go straight to a 4-year degree to get your MBA. Nothing wrong with that. But what Travis is saying, a lot of times those schools have that, those top business schools have that requirement for a reason. They want you to get out there, and they know that the real learning comes from hand-to-hand combat, if you will.
You need to get hit a few times, and you need to get knocked down a few times, and you do need to be dethroned, I believe, before you actually start moving up in the ranks.
Next question says that I'm a part of a big business school, getting ready to finish business school, and I always hear people talking about a business plan. Do you yourself write a business plan for every one of your businesses? And is it necessary to succeed, or is it merely an academic term?
That's a great question. I do write business plans for my businesses, and I definitely do. I just about fell off my chair. It's a wobbly seat, and so sometimes I wobble too much. Sorry, I'll try to stop wobbling now. I do. I write business plans, or I at least get somebody smarter than me to help write business plans. I think that they're very much a living document, however, and there are sections that I just cannot figure out how to answer, and so I'll just skip them and leave them blank. However, some of it is very critical and crucial to kind of lay out the future, and they're sort of like it's a roadmap. They're stepping stones to the future, and it's nice to have that when times get dark.
So, and the follow-up question to that is, who should look over my business plan to make sure that I've done it right?
Who's to say anybody does? Nobody has to see it. You may never show anyone. You could show your dog and see what your dog says, really. If you do know somebody who's smarter than you, who says, hey, think about this and think about that, and somebody who's maybe done it before, then that's awesome. If you have access to those people, then go shop it out to your close, associates, but no need to go out and get the outside world's approval.
Yeah, Travis, I think, sometimes we get hung up on formatting and technical grammar and, okay, should this section be in here? Did I omit this? A business plan is really your idea of how you're going to promote your product, where to, kind of the 4 Ps, if you think of the basics: promotion, place, product, price. And you're really making an idea of how you're going to grow your business. It doesn't have to be like this standard academic format where, oh my gosh, we missed that it says accounting principles or something like that. It really is just your plan on how you're going to succeed, and everybody kind of needs a plan, right? Would you kind of agree with that?
Absolutely. And I've been into a number of investor meetings on both sides of the table as an investor and as an what's the opposite of investor? An investee? Invest wannabe? Somebody who wants investment? What's that term, Zach?
I don't. Investee,
investor. Anyway, I've been on the boat. We're going to have to coin that phrase and trademark it here pretty quick. I've been on both sides of the table. Sometimes investors don't even ask to see a business plan. Other times they want to see them, and they forgive a lot of the unknowns, because that's really what business is just stepping into the unknown. And if you have a good sort of map or a chart, then awesome, go with it. But again, it's a living document. Tomorrow will be radically different than it was today. If you wrote a business plan in 2019 for 2020, how'd that go for you?
Agreed. Absolutely. The next question comes in. It says, what kind of business can I operate from my home?
I would say you could really nowadays and age operate darn near any. Inventory can be sourced to a third-party logistics company, fulfillment by Amazon, fill in the blank. So, I mean, I've started a number of businesses from my garage, from my grandparents' garage, from my mom's shed. And now we've got third-party logistics company that can take up all of your inventory and handle pick, pack, and ship for you. So, and with Zoom, we can contact anywhere on the planet, and most of the planet can get onto Zoom or a variation thereof. And so I don't really, I guess maybe if you're doing a pizza company, that might not be great from your house. There might be some residential HOA restrictions on that, but anything else, really, I would say just go for it and try it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And then the next question comes in: should I start an LLC, sole proprietorship? How do you know how to classify your business?
Definitely not an attorney, nor do I play one on TV. LLCs, however, in my personal experience, are always sort of the easiest to get into. There are numbers that attorneys and CPAs and bookkeepers will tell you that once you sort of get up to a certain threshold of income, you maybe want to start to upgrade to a C or an S, depending on what your attorney says. And then also I know for investors, LLCs maybe are not the best for outside of friends and family rounds or initial seed rounds. You need to probably start thinking about the S and C corps later on. But again, to start, I think LLC is, for me, I used to drive to Salem and I used to go in and I knew the exact door to go in through and how much I was going to pay. And I could ask all of my questions because I have 1,000 questions that come up. And even though I've done it 1,000 times, I still ask them over and over again. And I know that they're going to help. And I'm $150 later, or whatever the number is, I'm walking out the door ready to do business.
Yeah, I agree with you. I say get a lawyer.
Yeah. If you can, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just better. Most time, if you operate a small, tiny company, sole proprietorship is fine. But certainly, like you said, once you start getting the assets and everything, you really do need to seek advice of an attorney that can help with you there. So I agree with you. I don't play one either, and we'll never try to. Let's see. The next question is what 3 books do you recommend for small business owners?
Oh, boy. I would say, my sort of standard answer to this book question is Brian Tracy. If there's anything that Brian Tracy has written about business, I would probably start with that and then probably go on to times 3. I also believe that this day and age in 2021, the books written in 2019 are maybe not as applicable as they were in 2019. So I would look at also the area of focus. What do you need to learn? You need to learn marketing. What are the top 3 marketing books? You need negotiation, you need sales, you need what sort of business topic micro specifically. Business is a big ass umbrella, and there's a lot of little micro specific facets of business. And I would just say seek those out, go to those and devour the top best books in that micro specific topic.
Absolutely agree. You're right. There's a lot of business is so broad. So like, are you talking about e-commerce, or you're talking about marketing, or you talking about digital promotion, and so a lot of that stuff, like you said, can be broken down into categories where sometimes it's difficult just to say, buy this book. It teaches you everything you need to know about business.
I literally started out with the Idiot's Guides. I love Idiot's Guides. The Idiot's Guide to Starting a Business, the Idiot's Guide to Getting Rich, whatever they are. I start at the very fundamental basics. The Idiot's Guide, or the what are the yellow ones are called for dummies.
Dummies.
Yeah. What are the, get a dummies one for investing, get a dummies one for marketing. Start at just the very basics, learn the terminology and the different techniques. And then it'll sort of just, the other books will just sort of fall in line after that.
Next question comes in. I want to start my own real estate company. As far as flipping houses are concerned, the problem I have is the upfront initial investment. I don't have the money or the resources to even begin to flip the first house. What would you recommend me do?
Interesting. I did. That was actually my first business in Florida, was Paradigm Properties. And we did that. We set out with the intention of doing the same thing. Nowadays, you've got YouTube, you've got books, you've got podcasts on how to do no money down, how to get houses into escrow with no money down, fill in the blank on the topic. And I would say that also remember that maybe if you don't have enough money to get into it, are you going to realistically have enough money to maintain? Because just because you get in, you cross that threshold or barrier of entry, are you going to be able to run and at what rate and for how long? Because there will be more expenses after that just initial phase.
Great advice. Also too, guys, if you're new to that and you're just thinking about it, I have a funny feeling I'm smelling that you've seen a commercial on TV. Think about this. What about property management job at first? You learn your ins and outs as a property manager. There's a lot of property manager jobs right now in many big markets that they need these type people, and get your feet wet for that, because I'm telling you, a lot of the times people will get their feet wet in that and say, maybe I should try this, or it leads to a different road in real estate. Not that we're discouraging you, but you got to be really careful of what you see on at 3 a.m. at night on TV.
If it's not your passion, and just because it says it's going to get you rich, that's probably not a good formula for success, in my opinion.
Next question comes in: have you ever applied for an SBA loan? What is the process like? Any tips in navigating this process?
Yes, I know that in our early days at Hydro Flask, we applied for an SBA loan, and it was one of those things that the container of bottles was on the water. We owed hundreds of thousands of dollars within the next 5 or 10 days, and the SBA loan was definitely not geared towards that. It's a long, time-consuming process, and I think they make you jump through a lot of hoops, and I don't know what the success rate is, but in my experience, it's not anything that you really want to bank on, in my humble opinion.
Next question comes: what does angel investing mean?
and that's kind of what I was going to, that's a good segue or a good follow-up question is I would sort of start to think about angels, friends and family. A lot of family members can be considered angels. An angel is what is an angel? An angel is something that swoops in and has, beautiful bliss and joy and happiness that they bring and you get to reap the rewards of. So an angel investor is somebody who comes in and says, yeah, I see you have no sales, you have no this, you have no that, or you have a little bit of this or a little bit of that. And I believe in you. Here's some cash. Now go do great and come back and tell me when you're done. And let's share this experience together.
Awesome. Thanks for explaining that. Next question comes in. I've thought about owning my own cyber currency business. What's your opinion on cyber currency investing?
Whew, now you're asking me the really hard questions. That's not my area of expertise.
Mine either.
I'm more apt to talk about, what kind of medicine to give a golden retriever as doing a veterinarian type surgery. I have no clue.
Yeah, guys, that's probably falls under a little bit more investing. We got to actually some financial people coming on for the career library that be able to handle that more in detail. And the show's not really designed to give any financial advice out as well. The next question comes in. Have you seen other majors outside of just majoring business be successful in starting their own small businesses?
Oh, absolutely. I meet a lot of business owners that do not even have business degrees, psychology, history, English. And it doesn't just, I think that what college does is it really teaches people how to learn, and it teaches them, colleges and military both kind of, for me anyway, because I didn't really do either. They sort of set you up for the struggle, for the hassle, for the heartache, for the 4 a.m. and the 3 a.m., work days. And it sets you up to be a little bit more resilient. And I think that it doesn't, whether you're, you got a bachelor's of art or a MBA, you've now learned how to learn, because when you go into business, you got to constantly be learning, taking on new information, more podcasts, more books, more lectures, more seminars, more, constantly, especially at the rate that we're accelerating the world today. You need to constantly be current and fresh. And so that's kind of what college for me is.
Yeah, and it's an opportunity to network with other people, other colleagues. I think it's a networking ground as well. And, guys, most of the people that I interview probably don't have their business degrees, to be quite frank. They come from multiple disciplinarians. A lot of them, to be honest, not that I discourage college, I actually encourage it, but a lot of them don't have a college degree, and they operate a very successful small businesses. So it's really comes from all walks of life. It's really up to your strengths, your abilities, your passions, and what you make of it, not necessarily the academic curriculum that you took. But if you're a freshman and you're listening to this and in college, business isn't a bad degree. I got my major in business administration. So it's not that we're discouraging. We're just encouraging you. If you have a philosophy major, don't say, well, I've got a BS degree in philosophy, now I can't start a business. I mean, come on, anybody can, and I've seen it from all walks of life. Travis, I'm sure you have too.
Absolutely. And I really think, again, back to your freshman, do not quit. If you are a freshman, do not quit. Get that accomplished, get that under your belt, and have that in your toolbox.
Last question for you comes in. I think this is a really good question. It says, given the coronavirus pandemic and everything that's been hard on small businesses, isn't this the worst time to try to start a small business?
I think that's semantics. Best, worst, who's to say? Like them or hate them or neutral on them. I think it was GoDaddy who had a pretty good commercial that said something to the effect, and I'll paraphrase, that a lot of highly successful businesses have started in really difficult times. Hydro Flask, we started in 2008, 2009 financial crisis. And I put my head down and I focused on one task and one task only, as to grow the biggest, best water bottle company on the planet. And any other noise that was coming in from the news and the media, that did not affect me because I was working. If you let that outside static come in, you might as well just sit on your ass and watch TV the rest of the week, because it's just static white noise. And I say, do not listen to that. If you're going to make it happen, make it happen. Also, I could see it as maybe there's less competition nowadays in what you're looking to do. Because if you have that thought, there's a good possibility that others have that same thought, and they're the ones sitting there binge watching Netflix.
You know, I'm almost 40 years old, not to tell my age, that even though I did. And every year I've heard that this is not a good year to start your business. Guys, if you listen to that, you will never start a business. Just like Travis said, there's always bad news. There's always something happening. Now, is there certain industries that are being more affected than others? Sure. There's different states that are being affected. Not saying that everything's as roses and sunshine, but if you sit around and wait, you're going to be 80 years old and you're going to be like, wow, I never even tried that. But every year you read in USA Today or AP that, you know, the world's falling. So you really have to tune out. I love what Travis said, that if you're working, you're probably not paying much attention to the outside world.
You don't have time.
Yeah. So I really want to emphasize what you said. I actually think this is the best time to start a business, because you're lower cost to starting. And look, I would have never thought years ago I would have had a talk show. I mean, 20 years ago, if you just said I would be hosting my own talk show, most people would have thought you're crazy. Well, guess what? Technology's changed and platforms let everybody do it now. So I don't buy the excuse book, if you will.
I completely agree. My daughter's 4. And I know that if I ask her, what do you want to be when you grow up? She could say 100 different professions, but in 14 years, those 98 of those 100 will no longer be, you know, what if she said she wants to be a travel agent? Well, that's probably not going to be a great profession, right? So whatever she says today at 4, in 14 years from now, probably may not even be applicable. The other flip side of that is, like you said, you get to be a podcast host. Well, 5 years ago, 14 years ago, people would have had no clue what you were talking about, or thought that you were even in your logical, rational mind saying you wanted to go on the radio.
Yep. Travis, this has been so helpful. Thank you so much for coming on the show, sharing your expertise. We know you're very busy doing multiple entrepreneurial things. And so thanks for giving back. It's been really helpful, inspirational, and motivational, as well as educational.
And fun. Thank you, Zach. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, Travis. Have a great day.
You too. Cheers.